Hey guys, welcome to another one of my Saturday videos that I have pre-recorded for while I'm away in May. I'm excited to share with you a bit of a technique card today. So I think I said in a previous video that I put a poll out there to ask what people wanted to see more of or wanted to learn, and I actually thought people were going to say more fun folds because I have done a few recently, but they are everywhere. And I think I had a few people say watercolor and background techniques. So I decided to create that, and it's really hard to pick up the colors on a video, but I decided to do a bit of an easy watercolor technique. It's kind of a foolproof way of getting a fun watercolor background. So I thought I would do that and show you today how I made that with some new products and some old ones. Well, they're not old, but they were just in the recent catalogue. And celebrate a new suite out of the new catalogue, which I'm excited that I can finally film videos and share the stuff in the catalogue. But today I'm using the Thoughtful Journey suite, which I've been using tons of because I love this suite. So you may have seen recently, I shared, and I don't have it in front of me, I shared a card with the fold out panorama card where I really focused on this designer series paper. But today I actually really wanted to focus on just the stamp set and the dies. So sometimes when you look at a suite, you can get really on this page taken by the colors and think that's what you're creating with, is those colors. So I didn't want to do that this time. I wanted to step away from being swayed by these designer series papers and go completely out there on my own with my own colors. But sometimes I find it helpful. I actually have a tool which I will quickly share. It's not Stampin' Up. I have two of these, but they're quite big, so I'll just bring in the number 2. This is called the Color Cube by Renee Clark. Now these are similar to color combination cards that you would see on Pinterest. So and they have the, what do they call these? The hex, whatever they're called, codes on the back. So they're not Stampin' Up colors, but if you're looking for some color, and look at that cute, I found, actually no, I've got to find it now because I've just opened. For a perfect segue, look at how adorable this is. So if you're new to watching me, I never introduced myself. I'm Kayla. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator from Tasmania in Australia, but I have 2 golden retrievers. And so this colour combo, well, it just couldn't be any cuter. But anyway, and look. So there's obviously a section where animals are the inspo. But this was actually the one that inspired this card. So if you can see a little bit of a resemblance there, I pulled it out and I saw, see kind of, these are not Stampin' Up colours, but you can just use them as a bit of inspo. So I saw a bit of Berry Burst, a bit of Calypso Coral, Pumpkin Pie and Daffodil Delight, or that could be Crushed Curry. But they're sometimes really cool if you need some inspiration for colour, to pull this out and sort of have a bit of a play. So I have 2 of these. I have volume 1 and volume 2, and they're really fun because sometimes I wouldn't think of combining these colors. So like if you were looking at this, see, I see So Saffron, but it's really cool. You don't have to use all the colors on the card. It could just spark something creatively and make you try something a little bit different. So that is where I got my color inspo from for this particular card. But let's get started. I'm going to talk about the actual technique. So, and I do have another card that's different colors to share at the end. So, I have got my supplies out and ready. By the way, this hello is from this bundle, which is called I feel like it's called the Wonderful Thoughts, but now I'm Thoughtful Moments, I think. So this one comes with, it's a hybrid embossing folder. It comes with an embossing folder and a die that matches. because they all interlock together, but you'll see me use it. So that's what I've used for my sentiment. This is a really, really cool. If you like, if you do have to have a big machine, so not the little embossing, not the little die cut machine, but if you like making your own sentiments, it kind of gives like a letterpress look. Really cool. Anyway, okay, so we're going to start with the technique first because that's the messy bit. I may end up with messy fingers, so I'm just warning you. And now my washing machine is going to go on spin, so that's just going to be beautiful. So I have pulled out my layers first. I have got a top folding berry burst card base. Now, these measurements will be in both metric and imperial, and they will be in the PDF, which will be linked below this post. So below this video, sorry, and also the coordinating blog post. So be sure to check that out because it will have all the measurements, instructions, all that sort of jazz. But I will just show you what supplies I've grabbed. I have got these for the inside, but for the card front, I have just got a layer of basic white thick and a layer of fluid 100. So fluid 100 is our watercolor paper that we have at Stampin' Up. It's a really good quality, 100% cotton, nice and thick. I love it. I have a million packets of it, I think. But I'm gonna want that because I want something that's gonna take the moisture from the baby wipes. So you might be thinking, baby wipes, what on the earth are you talking about? Well, this is a really cool technique where you can use ink and the moisture from the baby wipe to help apply the color. It's easier to show than explain, but I have pulled out the re-inkers, which I have got Melon Mambo, which is not the right color. I'm glad that I said that out loud because I want Berry Burst, not Melon Mambo. So I store my re-inkers in these wide cases, which you can't get anymore, unfortunately, but if you have some, that's how I store mine. Okay, so I've got Berry Burst, Calypso Coral, Pumpkin Pie, and Daffodil Delight. So I've got all my re-inkers there ready. And I've got a packet of baby wipes. Now I have these in my craft room. These are non-alcoholic, just purified water, no scent. And that's what I use in my craft room. So I'm going to want to grab a few of these. Now, I don't think you necessarily need a whole baby wipe because we're only going to be using it one for each colour. So I'm actually just going to, for the sake of just being really thrifty, I'm going to cut the baby wipe in half. And then I'll probably need one for cleaning. So it uses 3 baby wipes. Okay, so I've got those to the side. Hopefully you can see them okay. Normally I would do this on a glass mat, but I'm trying to avoid having the glass mat in the video because it does glare a lot. So I have pulled in my silicone mat, and I figure not all of you will have a glass mat anyway. So Stampin' Up sells these little silicone mats. I think they're about $11-ish. It's really great for doing techniques like this, or even using glue because the glue will dry off and you can just peel it off. But for this technique, I'm going to try and do it with the silicone mat rather than use the glass mat. So I want to start with my first colour, which is going to be Berry Burst. And then I'm just going to put the cap off, and I'm going to grab my baby wipe and just pop about 2 drops of the re-inker on there. Now I'm going to pop that, use it on my finger like that, and use it as a bit of a pad. Now I'm just pushing down. I'm just going to literally use this and swipe it on and move it around. So that's just going to help me get that colour on there. Okay, now you can go back, because we've got this silicone mat, that ink's not going to seep in because it's not a porous surface. Okay, now I might even, you can move this around and get a new spot of baby wipe. I'm going to add another drop and just add a little bit of darker over here. Okay, that should do it. Now I'm going to keep this as my little palette there for a second because we may go back and add more. I don't know yet. Now you do get a little bit of fluff from the baby wipe, but that will dry off. You don't want to dig at the paper and go over and over. Okay, I'm just going to take that bit off. Now I'm going to move on to my next colour, which is going to be Calypso Coral. Putting the right lids back on. Oops, I've got 2 there. Now I'm going to pop a couple of drops of that one. Pop it in on there. I'm just going to dab that first little bit off first. And just lightly mix that on. Okay. Catch any bits you think you've missed. And then I've got pumpkin pie. A couple drops there. Dab that first bit off. I'll just pop that on the mat there and pick it up. Okay. Then I've got my last one. I'm just going to clean up this mat. So I'm going into a lighter colour. So I've got my Daffodil Delight. Rightio. It's a beautiful colour. I'm just trying to blend the line where they join, okay? Now you can go back, if you're happy with it, that's fine. I'm actually pretty happy with that. Or you can go back in and add some more colour. It is fluid 100, so it can take a bit of moisture. I'm just wiping off any little fluffy bits that are on there, okay? So that, and see, you do get inky fingers. So I'm just gonna give those a little bit of a wipe. Okay, so now you can set that aside to dry naturally, or you could run it over with the heat tool. What I might do is set it aside just for a moment, and then I'll see how it goes. Otherwise we might hit it with the heat tool. So I'm just going to close these re-inkers up because I can see there being a disaster, knowing my luck. Okay, so I'm going to bring in another step while I wait for that to dry. And I've got a scrap of basic white thick here. And I'm going to do a little bit of embossing. So I'm just going to prep my piece with some of my embossing buddy, which comes as part of the Embossing Editions toolkit. And I have got my Versamark, and I want to take this nice big stamp here, which I think I'll need a big block for. Okay, so I'm just going to ink up my stamp in some Versamark. And then stamp that down. Just want to make sure it's nicely pressed and all evenly stamped. And I'm going to bring in my embossing tray and my gold embossing powder. Just give that a tap. That looks nice. I love that I can use my embossing tray, which this is comes with the Embossing Editions toolkit, and I can just tap that all back into the jar. Makes it so quick and easy. Okay, so then I've got my heat tool here, so I'm just going to bring that in, and then I can melt my embossing. I do have a rather technique-based tutorial today, so hoping it doesn't take too long, but it's a bit more technique based, so there's a few more steps. But I thought it would be fun to show you something other than a fun fold. Okay, so I'm just melting that embossing powder until it's all set. That is all good. Now I want to bring in a couple of colours because we're going to do a little bit of watercolour here just to colour that image. So I'm going to bring in some black. Now I'm trying to remember which ones we had. No, Berry Burst, I believe, and Calypso Coral. So you can either use your ink pads for this technique or you can just use the re-inkers that we had out. I might just use the ink pads. So when I'm doing this particular technique, I like to get an ink block and just pop some ink onto it's not called an ink block, it's called an acrylic block, but I like to just pop them on there. Or if I'm using the glass mat, I will just pop them straight onto the glass mat. Okay, now I want to grab my aqua painter. Oh, it's not called that, it's called a water painter, but they were called aqua painters back in the day, so I think it's a bit hard to get that out of your head once it's in there. Okay, so now I want to just pop that up, but I'm going to grab, oh no, I should be fine with this. I just want to have something to dab off extra water if it gets there. So, oops. When I'm doing this technique, what I like to do is get the water started on a brush and then come in, and I like to add a little bit of water to my leaves first, or the area that I'm painting. Now, the cool thing about doing this technique with something that has been heat embossed is that the heat embossing provides a bit of a wall. So it helps that water and colour to stay inside the area that you're colouring. So if you are a shocker for going outside of the lines like me, this will help you. So I'm just going to add a bit of water to this colour and pick it up, and then I'm going to add a little bit of my Berry Burst to the base of my leaves. Now I'm just going to try and do this as quickly as I can because I don't want to keep you here all night, but I'm just adding a little bit just to the start of these leaves. Okay. The other alternative, I have actually done one on my other sample. I have stamped this image in Memento Black and coloured the leaves with stamping blends. Now I'm just going to brush that out while pushing the barrel just to clean that out. Then I'm going to add some water to my Calypso Coral and add this towards the base, blending the two colours together. Okay, like as you can see, I'm going pretty quick, and because this is heat embossed, it's helping to keep those colours inside that area. So it's a great one to do if you want to do watercolouring but have trouble staying inside the lines. But I wouldn't worry if you go outside the lines, because messy is artistic in my opinion. I'm no perfectionist here. I wouldn't look too closely at my cards and try and, they're definitely not perfect. Okay. We're almost there. Now I'm going to quickly go back in with some Berry Burst and just add touch back to the base of the leaves, and that just brings back in some of that dark. Okay. Okay, I think we're all good. Now, I can just wipe these blocks off with a baby wipe or the chamois, and that will just clean all of that ink off. That, or you could spritz it with some water and create a nice background for a card if you don't want to waste the ink. Okay, so I will die cut that in a second once it's had a minute to dry, but we're going to do another technique. So I've got Becoming a Tsunami over here already. I'm going to pop those away. So with the sentiment, I am just going to pop some stuff to the side so I've got some room. We are going to use this cool hybrid embossing folder. So I will need the die and I will need the embossing folder. Now I have cut out a piece of basic white thick to 6 by 6 inches because, which is roughly 15 by 15 centimeters, because it needs to fit in this whole embossing folder. Or you could cut a piece just to do the word you wanted, but for now I'm just going to do the whole embossing folder. Now, when I did this originally, I have just inked it onto the embossing folder. So you want to go, sorry, the side that the Stampin' Up logo is on. So this side here. Now, I have literally just dabbed my Memento embossing folder on like this to get my ink over all of those words. Now, you really want to make sure this is well inked. So I have gone to town adding lots of ink to my embossing folder. The other option, which I didn't do last time, is if you have got the Stampin' Braille, which I did not prepare, so probably needs a wipe down. You can actually, which this might be a bit messy, you can actually add the ink to the Braille and then go over the top. Now, I haven't tried this method, so if you find it easier to do it that way, you could do it this way. I'm going to have a very interesting cleanup job. Okay, I'm going to put that over there and hope that I don't put my fingers in it. But I'm just going to make sure. There was a couple that weren't quite inked last time. We'll go with that. Now, what I want to do is pop my die right over the top. Now, it will actually click into place. So you want to put this die face up on the side that you've inked. Then you want to take your piece of white, pop that over the top, then close the embossing folder. Now, bring in your, this is a 3D embossing folder, by the way, so you will need to grab plate 1, and what's this, plate 4. So I'm just going to pop that in there and pop plate 4 on top, and then run this through my machine. Goodness me. Okay. Now, need a workout to do that. Okay, now you can see, without even showing you, that these look pretty cool. I want to try and not get them in the black ink that's still there on the embossing folder. Just going to pull these out. So you could do this with any colour, by the way. Now I'm just going to toss that bit out. Now, you can pick up your die. If you've got black ink on that, just grab a baby wipe, clean it off. And the same with the embossing folder. It does not matter about adding ink to your embossing folders. I probably wouldn't add stays on, but if it's just ink like this, it does not matter. I'm going to give it a good clean afterwards, but get a baby wipe in there, just give it a wipe, but I will take that and do that afterwards. I'm gonna have a nice clean up job when we're done. Okay. So now I want to choose my sentiments. I've got a few to pick from. This has quite versatile sentiments in here, which is really cool. Okay, so I'm going to use the Hello again. And you can keep all these either with the die set or somewhere easy to get to for ready to go cards. Now I'm going to bring in my pumpkin pie stamping blends. And I can't remember if I used the light one or the dark one. I'm actually just going to carefully colour my image. Now you want to be careful, especially if you've got a really inky blend. So just drop the colour carefully. I think I might have actually not used pumpkin pie on the original. I used the new peach colour. And the cool thing about doing the light blend is that you can actually come in with the dark on that edge. Oopsie, I just went a little bit over. And blend that out, and you kind of get a shadow, which is cool. Okay, so I'm just following my letters around. So it really does give you kind of like a letterpress look. It's really fun. I'm so glad that they have carried these over and not retired them, because I hadn't had a chance to play with them. And now that I have, I think I'm a little bit addicted. Especially because you can make these in any color you want. You can have the outline, even the outline in the darker color, like maybe a blackberry bliss, and then going in with a lighter purple would look cool. Okay, so I'll go in and add some darker pumpkin, I think. And then my washing machine is honestly so loud. I always put it on at the worst time when I'm filming a video. It goes for almost 3 hours, the cycle on my washing machine, so I get frustrated waiting for it to finish. Okay, we're almost done. And then hopefully our other pieces will be dry. So I think there's going to be a few techniques on this card, but it's fun to do something other than a fun fold. Okay, I'll add a little bit of that dark there. Okay, so that's our sentiment, and I'm going to add a little bit of Wink of Stella, so a little bit of sparkle just to the letters. I think it's almost time for my Wink of Stella to have a refill. Oops, I've got lots going on there now. Oh my goodness. Okay, hold on. I've got a glitter explosion now. Oh my goodness. I would not need much of an excuse to add Wink of Stella to anything. Which, by the way, if you've looked at the new catalogue, Wink of Stella is still there. A lot of people thought it had retired, but it has not retired. It's just a little bit hidden, but we have still got Wink of Stella. So a lot of people thought it was being retired. Okay, so there is my little piece. Now I'm going to die cut out this piece here, which is got a beautiful coordinating die. So I'll bring in my little mini machine for that one. Might need a post-it note. Okay, so let's, if you see these dies, by the way, and they've got little holes at the top, what they're for is to help you line it up. So when you're lining up your die, you should be able to see the point of something. So you should be able to see something in there. It means you've lined it up correctly. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that through. And then we'll have our cute watercolored piece. Which will just poke out the middles to that. And there we have it. Now we're just going to do one more bit of die cutting, but we're going to colour the paper we're going to die cut first. So I'm going to take a little scrap, which it honestly doesn't matter. It's 3 1/4 by 2 1/4. So I'm not actually sure what's that in centimeters. 8 by 6. And I want to colour it to get some fun colours going on to die cut some leaves. So I'm going to take my dark pumpkin pie and literally just using the brush tip end, scribble some dark pumpkin pie over my piece. Then I'm going to take my dark Daffodil Delight. Now I'm starting in the middle, so I'm blending over the top of the two. I am adding some colour through there. So I've just got kind of an ombre piece happening between the darks. Now I've got, I'll just add in a bit more orange there, darken that up. Okay, so that gives me a fun piece like this. You can be as messy as you like with that one. And then I want to bring in the Thoughtful Wishes dies again, and I'm going to pick out these individual leaves. There should be 4 of them. So, and I'm just going to arrange those, but I don't want them all starting and ending at the same horizon line there. So I'm just going to sort of stagger them a little bit, making sure they're all in that coloured section. Run that through. You can discard of that piece. Now I'm pretty sure that's all the die cutting done. Okay, sometimes if you, oh, that's not gonna, I'll grab my take your pick tool. Okay. So I'm just gonna pull these out and see you get this really cool ombre look with your die cuts, which is really fun. And that's as easy as colouring some scrap paper with some stamping blends in the colours that you want. So I've got my little die cut pieces, and I'm just going to move those dies to the side. Okay, so let's bring back in our piece. It might still be a little bit wet, so I might just run over the heat tool quickly. As this piece dries, the colours do lighten a little bit as well. So they're not quite as vibrant as they first look. Okay, hopefully that should be good. Okay, so what we're going to do is bring in the same stamp we used to stamp the piece we watercoloured. And I'm actually going to bring in my Versamark ink. Now, you might be thinking, are we heat embossing? Or no, we're not. We're actually just using the Versamark to stamp with. Now, the cool thing about stamping with Versamark is it's hard to see there, but it has actually added colour. Now, I think I've grabbed my old Versamark, but that's okay. This one's not quite as juicy. So what it does is leaves a watermark style look. So because we're going over multiple colors, I sort of wanted to still have a stamped impression, but if you can see there, it's just sort of left a watermark look. So Versamark you can use to stamp with as well. It gives a bit of a tone on tone look. Now I'm just going to stamp a couple around the edges. That should do. Now I'm also going to bring there's a little stamp in here that's like a little splat. I'm gonna put that on a block and I'll grab some Daffodil Delight ink and use the Daffodil Delight to stamp in a few spots there. Close that up, and then I'm going to grab some Calypso Coral, but I do want to clean off my block a little bit. And there, we've added some beautiful texture to the background. Okay, so I'm also gonna prep a little bit more of my background by adding some spritzing from a Berry Burst Stampin' marker. So I like to do this by just getting the brush tip end in the cap and just spritzing a little bit on my background. I love the effect that gives. It's very subtle but adds a little bit of extra texture to my background. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of my Wink of Stella before I put this on. Whoa, I really did fill the barrel when I pressed that before. Okay, now I can adhere this to my piece of basic white that's going to be my back layer now, because I finished prepping that background. So I'm just going to add some liquid glue. Now, because we're working, Fluid 100 is quite a heavy cardstock. My end of my glue is just a bit clogged up. I've been using it all day. Give me 2 seconds and I will unclog my glue. Okay. It doesn't want to work for me today. When it comes out, I can feel it's going to explode everywhere. Does anyone have this happen to them? Okay. It's got some kind of air bubble in there. I'm just avoiding opening a new glue. It's wanting to come out, it's just got a bit of dried glue sitting there. Oh, like that. I told you that would happen. Wait, what I do when that happens is I don't waste that glue. I get a bit of scrap and I will actually use this for now my piece. So when I said you probably need to be a bit more liberal with the glue on the Fluid 100 because it's quite a heavy cardstock, so we're definitely being liberal with the glue now. I'm just going to apply that on there like that. Now I've got sticky fingers. And there's some that's gone over here. That's funny. Okay. Now I'm just going to stick this onto my layer of basic white. Make sure it's lined up quickly because there's a lot of glue on there. Okay, should be good. Okay, now I'm just going to flatten that down. Oh, stick your fingers. Okay. Next bit I'm going to do is I have pre-die cut out this die from the dies here. It's my favourite die. I love it to pieces. It's this one here. I have die cut that out from the adhesive gold backed. My camera was totally wonky then. I don't know how long that's been wonky for. The adhesive gold back glimmer. So I'm just going to, it's got a little bit of adhesive on there, but we're going to add some more. So I'm just going to hold that there, but I'm going to put my piece that I've watercolored over the top. Actually, I'm going to move that a touch. Now, there is going to be things that go over the top here. So to hold it down, I'm actually going to do one of my favourite things that people seem to do a lot and add a staple. Now, I've got some, what do we call this stuff? Linen thread. And I'm going to do a double bow, which you can look up on YouTube how to do a double bow. They're really fun, but I suck at teaching them. It's a bit like, what I do with my fingers is a bit like the fork technique, I think. I think one day I should teach it in slow motion, because that's really the only way to learn, is to watch it in slow motion, I think. Now with my double bow, I'm actually kind of taking the ends and putting them together. So I've got a little fan looking piece there, and I'm going to use that as something a little bit different than popping it in a normal bow. Now I'm just going to get a glue dot. I might actually grab two. Linen thread is actually quite forgiving to work with too, so it ties nice bows, but it also, if you get them not quite right, it's quite forgiving to move around. Now I'm just placing that down because I know that I'm going to pop my sentiment over the top, okay? Like so. Now that I've got, I'm just going to chop my tail there. I can actually pop this whole thing onto the card base now before I add my sentiment in. So I think that glue should be ready to go. I hope it is. Now we've got the glue bubble fixed. Okay, so I'm popping that down to my Berry Burst card base. And now I want to stick my sentiment over the top, but I'm actually going to stick my sentiment over the top with some dimensionals. So I'm going to grab my scissors and just use the edge of the dimensionals, because these are a little bit thinner. The reason I want to do that is I'm going to put some on this H, which is quite thin. So I want to grab some thinner edge pieces to work with. And then some bits of this can have a whole dimensional. That O may need one that's slightly smaller. So I'll cut that there. And I'll use that leftover piece there. So that should be enough dimensionals for that sentiment. Take the backings off. Now I want this to cover that staple that I had there from before, and I'm going to pop this right over the top like that. And this is where you can now adjust your tails, trim them if you need to. Okay. And I'm going to take my leaves that I have die cut out, pop a little bit of glue, which that was a lot of glue. Glue's the theme tonight, I think. And I want to just tuck them in. So I'm just going to test if this one's going to look okay in there. Oops, that one's going to go this way, not that way. Okay. So add a little bit more glue to that one and tuck it in. And then a little bit of glue here. You could also use glue dots. It's completely up to you. Can't decide on this one. Don't know. I'll go with where it originally was. Okay. Now to embellish, I'm going to add some of these fun pearls, which are part of the Thoughtful Journey suite as well. They're called the Adhesive Back Pearl Trio. And I'm going to use some of the beautiful ones down here which look like Calypso Coral. I'm not 100% sure if that's what they are, but they look like it to me. So I'm just going to add a few of them in here, like that. And that's the front of the card done. Isn't that, you can see the glimmer when you put it on its side. Really, really beautiful. Okay, so let's do a quick inside. I promise this bit won't take long. Okay, so I'm going to get some Daffodil Delight to start off with. So I'm going to open up my ink pad for that one. And I'm just going to grab the quickest blending brush I can find here and add some blending. So I just want a little bit of Daffodil Delight in this corner. I'm adding it pretty dark. I really like it being nice and rich. Okay, so then let's go and add some pumpkin pie. I'm just brushing off that first little bit there so it's not so harsh when it hits the page. And then lastly, I want to add a little bit of Calypso Coral, I think. I might do that with this brush here. I don't think I want to add as much. I'm just going to add a tiny bit up here. I'm not sure if I did Calypso or Berry Burst on the original, but we're going to go with Calypso. Now I want to grab my Berry Burst ink and my stamp that I have been using for the entire card. I'm going to ink that up in some Berry Burst and just stamp that in the right hand bottom corner. Then I'm going to grab some pumpkin pie and taking this little splat stamp again, I'm just going to add some texture. So I'm literally still stamping that without re-inking it, and it gives a little shadow effect, which is really cute. Now I'm going to bring my Berry Burst Stamping Wrap marker back in again and just spritz some ink on that background. And then with my Wink of Stella, I'm just going to add a little bit of glimmer to those leaves there. So it just adds a little bit of sparkle. Now I'll add a little bit of adhesive to my layer there and stick that onto the larger layer of basic white. And then I'm going to adhere this to the inside of my card. And that is the card finished. So open it up and that's what it's like on the inside. So that was how you do the baby wipe technique. It's actually pretty simple. You can experiment with lots of colours. This is the matching envelope I made to go along with the card. So I just added another little stamp and replicated what I did to the inside of the card. And then I also made an additional one. This was using Melon Mambo, Azure Afternoon, Coastal Cabana, Granny Apple Green, and Lemon Lime Twist. So it was quite a few colours, and I also changed it up by doing that branch in Stampin' Blends and stamping it in Memento. And I die cut that branch in Silver Glimmer, as well as using a different sentiment. So I used the You Make Me Happy. So that was a lot of fun to change it up and do a different colour combo than this one. So you'll have to let me know in the comments which colour combo you like the most. It was a lot of fun to use the new Thoughtful Wishes suite or Thoughtful Journey suite, but really only used the Thoughtful Wishes bundle. I didn't use the papers this time, so this is the bundle, and you can find that in my Stampin' Up online store. It's now available, so the catalogue is now live, and I also featured the wonderful or Thoughtful Moments. So that's the die with the embossing folder we used. So I had loads of fun experimenting with this bundle and those beautiful sentiments. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed seeing a few different techniques that I don't usually do. So I had fun, and I will see you guys again next Saturday. If there's anything you do want me to feature or you want to see, let me know in the comments, because I'm happy to try things out for you and see what I can do. In the meantime, I'd love to hear from you in the comments, and please give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye.